I'm Marin. You've been talking to me on Twitter.
And I'm
mostly.
Julian.
Okay, nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, JC. Nice to meet you, Thad.
Good to meet you guys.
Yeah, good to meet you. We've connected actually after I saw you guys. You recorded the podcast with Ryan Carson.
Yeah.
I then checked out what you're doing in your community, and I said, "Oh, that's very interesting." And then I saw how that you're doing this podcast as well. I say that's quite cool because we're also doing this podcast, and you seem to be starting. You're actually guest number 20. This is going to be episode 20, and
Cool.
It's really cool to share and talk about our experience a little bit. I love to touch also on our like shared experience as programmers and what drove you to start DevLifts, and because we as programmers started doing also something outside of the coding realm a little bit, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And I would love to start by if you can introduce yourselves and share a little bit about what DevLifts is, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. I guess I can introduce myself. I'm JC Hiatt, and I am 25. I live in the States, in Mississippi, and I've been a developer professionally for, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 years, just like a freelance consultant. And unprofessionally probably for like 12 years. I'm not actually sure. It's been a while. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of my story there. Thad, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Thad. I'm a personal trainer, weightlifting coach. I've been doing that since college, so really for the last 4 or 5 years, only professionally in the last couple of years or so. I'm the owner of Black Owl Fitness, which is my personal training company, and then partnered with JC on DevLifts.
Nice. And do you have any coding experience as well?
I have 0 coding experience. Absolutely none.
Interested in dipping your toes a little bit at some point?
I've tried to learn a little bit, and it's just so beyond me.
I see how you guys have connected on the DevLifts and had you're complementing each other's skills, I guess.
Right.
Then how did the idea come up for that?
Yeah. You want me to take this one, Dad?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So in 2015, Thad was getting ready to go on a year-long trip into I guess Southeast Asia mostly was at least a plan at the time. That's another story for another day. But he was planning to be gone for all of 2016, and he was kind of just looking for a job for a few months. And at the time, I had a team. I was running a team of developers, and we were building websites and apps and stuff for lots of different types of companies. But so he came on, and just to kind of do really anything that was kind of necessary. Like I gave him a job because he was my friend, and I wanted to support him. And so he just kind of did a lot of random stuff. But one of those, like his main responsibility, what it became was training me, because he would walk in the door at the office, and I would see like him carrying around like one of these huge jugs with like a gallon of water and a bunch of VCAs in it and stuff. And I was like, what is that? And anyway, I don't even remember the exact conversations, but through a series of conversations, eventually I ended up at the gym with him one evening, and he started training me. He asked me what superhero do I want to look like? And I at the time I was like really hooked on the TV show Arrow, and so I was like, I want to look like that guy, Stephen Amell. So we started training, and I just noticed that like over 12 weeks, I looked a lot better at the end of 12 weeks, but I noticed huge benefits in terms of just how I felt and how much work I was getting done, and my overall, even my confidence level in my work and in my ability to manage my team and my projects and stuff like that. And so that got me thinking. And in 2016, he left to go overseas, and I kept working out and then kept seeing improvements on my productivity and just overall sense of well-being. And he came back for 2017, and we were in the gym one day, and I was like, man, let's just do this for like other developers. This is awesome. And there's it's not just the developer industry, but it's a lot of different people that are that by and large it is kind of unhealthy, but developers in general, we sit all the time. We have unreasonable deadlines a lot. We eat fast food at our desk to try to meet those deadlines. We sleep weird hours if we sleep at all some days. And there's a lot of unhealthy habits in the developer industry. And so since I am a developer, like at least I can empathize with those people. And
lost you there for a bit.
Well, I'm sorry, what? We have some technical difficulties again.
We're back.
Yes.
Yeah, just
now we're back.
we think
in sync.
back.
Okay. Let me which part did we leave off?
It was the part when that came back, and then you started noticing the benefits by training by yourself, and then you proposed the idea of doing that for other people as well. Yeah,
and that basically I noticed that I had really improved. My whole life had improved from learning about fitness and learning to make healthier decisions in my life and having healthier routines. And I knew that other developers, like a lot of developers out there, are have stressful jobs. They aren't taking care of their bodies, and that's not necessarily because they don't know they're supposed to. It's just because they maybe haven't been introduced to like how to have some healthy routines and healthy boundaries and things like that, or maybe they haven't given exercise a try to know that it will actually improve their productivity. Someone said, I was actually talking to someone yesterday, and they said, you tell someone to work out and they're like, well, I don't have time to work out. And you say, well, the reason you don't have time to work out is because you don't work out. Like if you worked out, you would have more time, because working out literally makes you feel superhuman in all of your work. Like you're a lot more productive. And so you literally create more time for yourself. And so anyway, that's a little bit of how we got started. Just, it was kind of an idea at the beginning of this year, and we've just kind of taken our time all year, doing a little bit here and there, speaking at some meetups, getting some ideas from, some feedback from other developers. And now we're just approaching our official launch.
Great. And Thad, was JC a good student in the beginning?
He was really committed, but he also had a financial interest in making it work too. So.
But JC, did you have any previous sports experience, or did you go from kind of zero to start working out?
Yeah, growing up as a kid, especially, I was pretty nerdy, but at the same time, I also live in Mississippi, and so like I still spend a lot of time outside, just kind of playing around, backyard football or playing on a trampoline or whatever, just like most kids. But I guess I played some sports a little bit. Not like I was never great at them. I think I mostly just tried to play sports to try to fit in a little bit better in grade school. And so like I played basketball, I tried soccer, I tried baseball, I played football for a bit. And I also was in ROTC, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with. I'm not sure like how that works. So it's essentially it's kind of like a military program, but it's in high school. So like, there's lots of physical training involved. And I was in that, and I was in pretty good shape, but at least from an activity perspective, but no one ever taught me anything about nutrition or how to lift weights properly or anything like that. So my exposure to nutrition choices and supplements and, how to properly perform a deadlift, like all of that kind of stuff, I had no experience when Dad started training me.
And Thad, about your experience as a personal trainer, how did that come about? And tell us a little bit also about your other company that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, yeah. So I played American football all through high school. And then once I got to college, I just, I don't know, I kept wanting to work out, kept wanting to be competitive in something, and did a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But then also was in the gym without a coach for the first time ever. And I'm very, very curious in kind of all kinds of things that I get involved in. And so I tried to just educate myself and learn as much as possible about it. And I studied philosophy in college, so it wasn't even like there was any kind of overlap at all there. And so I just wanted to learn more and more about this new interest that I had, and for programming, what the best kind of things to do were if somebody else wasn't doing it for me. And I guess the next thing I knew, I had learned enough to to really share that with other people. And so just started kind of pursuing some certifications and doing some free training a little bit for experience for just roommates and things like that. And then once I got out of school, that ended up being my career. And so Black Owl has been great. That's my personal training company. And so I'm private. I don't work for a gym. I travel to my clients and I bring equipment and things like that. And it's just only job I've ever really been good at, and I've really enjoyed it a lot. I love when people come to me with all kinds of just different things that they want to be able to do or look like or prepare for. And so I've trained guys getting ready to go to military training. We just got a client that's a break dancer for DevLifts. And so, there's all different kinds of backgrounds and all different kinds of places that people want to get to. And that's what's most exciting for me as a trainer.
You guys mentioned just, are you just about to launch, or did you launch a while ago?
I've launched a while ago. And Black Owl has mostly been kind of just people around me. I'm most of my time is spent as an aid worker. That's why I'm in Greece. I work in a refugee camp here. And so to be able to train people while I'm home, people kind of in my circles, and then leave and also do their programming from here, kind of keeps my head above water because I'm not paid to be in the camp. And so, yeah, that was, I guess Black Owl must have been a little less than a year ago. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Can you take us guys through what exactly the business and the project of DevLifts is? Because you mentioned you're launching. So what does that business entail?
Sure. And I listened to you guys' podcast a little bit, so I kind of, I know you guys like to kind of just like be transparent about like what, some ideas you've thrown out there for your own business and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'll kind of give our version of that. We actually, because what we're doing currently is not what we originally set out to do. So originally we were actually thinking of a membership model with paid content. And so, you pay a monthly fee and that gives you access to different plans that are already made. And as well as, access to our Slack channel and things like that. And we also were going to roll out an iOS and Android app. There's a company out there that already has an app made that has videos of all the exercises and has a back end where we can kind of load a plan in there for people. And we were going to white label that because that's kind of what they do. They just sell their app as a white labeled service. We were going to try that, and then we started talking and started having a lot of conversations with developers. So like back in maybe August, I started just hopping on Twitter, and anyone that followed us or anyone I could connect with, if they were a developer, I started trying to schedule a 15-minute phone call with them. And so I don't know how many of these 15-minute phone calls where I just kind of like asked them about their exercise experience, and I asked them kind of their interest in that, and I asked them, I kind of gave them the spill of kind of what we were thinking, and I started getting so much like valuable information from them, that I decided, like, between that and the fact that any kind of content driven site, especially paid content, we were going to have a lot of content before we could ever launch. Like, we would have to make all this content before we could ever launch and actually have money coming in. And I'm a big believer in getting to revenue as quickly as possible and getting to profitability as quickly as possible. And also, I really want to do this. I really want to do DevLifts full time at some point. Like, and the sooner I can make that happen, the better. The more happier I will be. And so between all that, we decided, well, let's back off. And first off, we can get a lot more valuable information from our customers if we keep having these conversations with them. And secondly, we don't have the time or the money that's needed to produce the amount of quality content that would be needed to do this membership model. So let's punt on that, and maybe we'll do that eventually. But let's punt on that. And for now, let's just sell one-off plans. So it's a one-time fee. You still get access to the Slack channel, but you also, the first 100 customers, get a 30-minute call with Thad and myself. And so the way the process works is, they sign up for a plan and they pay, and then they fill out a questionnaire. And we've got a really detailed questionnaire that gets their goals, their preferences, their experience working out so far, whether or not they like working out in the gym or not, like whatever it is. And then once they fill that out, Thad and I hop on a 30-minute Zoom call with them and dive deeper into those, those answers from that questionnaire. And then we go back and we make them usually an 8 to 12 week plan, something they'll see good results on in a span of 2 to 3 months. And so that's what we've been doing, because first off, it immediately got us to revenue. Secondly, we are going to have, we're having so many 30-minute conversations with our customers. So we're getting to figure out, like, what made them buy? What are they really looking for in this? What are some of the common complaints that we're seeing between all the developers that are becoming our customers? Like, a lot of people are complaining of lower back pain, things like that, or low energy, low focus. And so we're able to see all those trends, get all this really valuable market data, but at the same time have money coming in, which can get us closer to being able to do this full time, and be able to fund other ideas, like being able to put out, paid content and stuff like that. And so that's kind of what we're doing now. And also the one-time fee is at least to me, feels like a lower commitment. And so that's kind of why we decided to do that for now. And I don't know about that. I've been really happy with that so far. It's not a very profitable model yet, because each plan is very, very personalized. It's not like a boilerplate. And so each plan takes a pretty good chunk of time to do one plan. And so, it's not as profitable as we want it to be later, but we're getting so much valuable insight right now. So that's kind of how it's working.
Okay. And Thad, can you take us through, because the nutrition is kind of standard. I mean, healthy food is healthy food, but how personalized do you go with the workouts?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is that calisthenics? Is it gym training? Or?
Right. Yeah. So we like to ask a good bit of questions, and actually, right when we started doing these plans with DevLifts was when I first, just as a personal trainer, started taking into account personality types. So if anyone has taken any kinds of personality types like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram or different things like that, that can actually tell you a lot about the kinds of things that people are going to be willing to commit to and stick to, and even how detailed the workouts are. So one person may be way better off with just give me exactly what to do so that I don't have to even think about it when I'm outside of the gym. And somebody else just wants to have, like, this day do, 3 compound movements that involve your shoulders. You can pick them, that kind of thing. And so it's cool. So we go into somebody's lifestyle, how much time they actually have to spend in the gym. And that'll vary based on your relationships, your family life, what your job looks like and the demands of that. And also, what people are trying to get into and really where they're starting from, because I really believe in the simplicity principle that when you start training, you don't need to be taking the same training programs as like your heroes, like finding out what they're doing right now and getting into that. For a lot of people, if you just got up in the morning and did 20 push-ups a day for a week, you could see crazy results from that. So training and nutrition, making small changes first, and then letting the complexity come later, that kind of thing. So just somebody's lifestyle, where they want to be and where they currently are some really big things that we take into consideration starting there. And then a lot of people have tried a lot of different things with nutrition, and we get pretty personalized with that based on health limits and things that they prefer. Because another goal that we have is just something that's going to be sustainable for somebody. So questions that we ask are like, what are foods that you just aren't going to eat? Like, what are some things that you're not going to do, and what are some foods that you're not going to eat, and what foods are you just crazy about, and like it's going to be really hard to give up, and it's see how and if we can work that in, and how often, so that kind of thing. So we really do try to make things as personal as possible going into it.
Okay, and on the question of accountability, you mentioned the fee already, and that's a pretty good motivation for a lot of people, but how do you maintain this throughout the program?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think that's something that we're really trying to build with the community. And we already have guys interacting with each other on there, which is great. And so it's cool. I kind of expected to just play the personal trainer thing, because every time I've been a trainer, I'm the only person really that's holding somebody accountable to what their training looks like, because I've never been backed by a community of my clients before, and so it's been cool to see that Slack channel kind of take off and people interacting and sharing what they've been doing and things like that. And so if you're kind of slack off or don't get into it as much, then people notice, so that's cool.
Yeah, and in addition to the community kind of holding each other accountable, we actually also do check in with every customer once a week through Slack, just to make sure they don't have any questions, or that they haven't maybe hit a plateau and they need to need some recommendations on how to break that plateau and kind of keep progressing. So that usually on Mondays I have a recurring task to just go in and message everyone on Slack who is a customer.
And have you had the case when someone has fallen off the path and you actually talked to them and had to try to get them back on it and continue on this program?
Not yet. We've had one instance, maybe we've had a couple of instances where people had their plan, but they just haven't started yet. And, life kept getting in the way or something. And, we haven't had any situation where we really had to kind of, I guess, press them too hard about it. I mean, I guess that will probably come at some point, which at that case, and if that ever happened, in that case, I would just say, hey, if you don't, actually want to do this plan, just let us know. We'll give you your money back, because we want people to actually you do the plan that we give them, and that way we can make sure that, we're getting results and that we get good feedback. And we want we want 100% success rate with our customers. We want every single customer that gets a plan from us to accomplish the goals that they set out to accomplish. And so quite the opposite so far. We've had some great successes already. We have one customer who's already down 15 pounds from 6 weeks ago, and is heading for another 5 before he kind of goes on winter break. And we have one customer who dropped 20 pounds in the first 8 days. Yeah. And he's feeling great, and he's just over the moon right now because of he's seeing all his progress. And so we're having some great successes. Thankfully haven't had to get in anybody's face yet, which I don't think we'll ever do. I think if someone really just doesn't seem like they want to do it, we'll just give them their money back.
Do you guys monitor their progress by, do they send you pictures or do you do like a live chat, or how do you monitor that progress?
Yeah, so every plan we tell them how to take their starting metrics, and so they'll take some body measurements, or it really depends on the goals that we're going after, because some of these are performance goals. So if it's like I need to be able to run a I don't know, like a 4.8 40-yard dash or whatever it is, like we say, okay, we'll go out there and do your, test your 40-yard dash currently, get the, do it 3 times, get the average, and then, we'll weigh against that. Or for most people, it's aesthetics. They say, hey, I just want to, besides feeling better, which is hard to track other than, them being self-aware about it. If they just want to drop some weight or drop some fat, then we supply all the instructions on how to take those measurements, and they send that over to us, and then we also teach them how to measure that on a daily basis. Now in the future, we really want to build out a more of like an aspect of the community that, like, I guess, a platform that allows people to add their data, so we can actually track all of our data as a community. Like, here's the total amount of the fat burned, pounds of fat that was burned in October for the whole DevLifts community, like, just to have some cool stats like that on our website and stuff, and to be a huge motivator for everyone. So but currently, yeah, we supply kind of instructions on how to get those starting numbers.
Have you thought at some point to have some of the more active members of the community to actually take the lead, or a lead role, and be like an extension of you guys, so that they can train their own, like, little group of starters, for example?
Yes, actually, in 2 ways. Like, we've already, everyone, like, that we make a plan for, we do have like one kind of boilerplate paragraph that we put in every single plan, and it's, hey, like, this is our vision for our Slack community. It's people holding each other accountable. It's like, hey, as you progress and you learn these things, like, we would love to see you helping other people that have the same questions that you once had. So in that sense, like, we're trying to encourage people to come into ownership of helping out their fellow community member. And then secondly, we're actually planning to launch get basically like meetup workout meetups across the world, where you can, one person can say, hey, I want to be the DevLifts meetup organizer for my city, and we will sponsor that meetup and provide like some snacks and water and stuff like that. And once or twice a week, they get together in a public place and they do like our workout of the day in the park together, like with a bunch of other developers from the community. And so those are 2 ways that we're encouraging people to kind of step into leadership positions and help those along after they've kind of figured this thing out. So I'm sure we'll have other ideas, but yeah, that's huge for us, is trying to create some responsibility and some sense of ownership in our customers.
And a question for Thad: what are some of the most common problems or goals do you see that people from the community have?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a ton of back tightness and chest tightness. That is kind of the thing that we dealt with a lot with JC, is just dealing with some mobility stuff. And when this thing first kind of started taking off, I really just started looking into kind of just the biomechanics of the things that we tried to fix with JC, just from like even a postural perspective, and we're seeing a lot of anterior pelvic tilt and things like that. But a lot of these things that are compounded on top of each other, like the limited range of motion in your legs just from sitting all day, and that kind of thing, and the tightness in your hamstring. But all that paired with all of the, musculoskeletal and like the spinal issues that you get with that. There's some things that could be really crippling from that, from that kind of sedentary lifestyle and not doing anything about that. Yeah, there could, if you get shaken up by something, or if you trip, or if you're in any kind of minor accident, it could really mess you up if your body isn't used to receiving any kind of stress like that. So that's kind of the biggest thing that we're seeing is, back issues, knee problems, tightness in the hamstring.
Since you are in Greece, by the way, have you tried to organize a meetup there with local developers already?
I haven't. It would have been cool to do, but man, I am always busy. So I actually came from a shift in the camp and to do this, but yeah.
It's pretty incredible, by the way. We really appreciate it that you took a little bit of your time for this. And coming to more to the business side of DevLifts and how you're finding your customers, because there is this commitment that they're making initially, and then the program starts for them. How often, or not how often, but is there something that you offer them at first for free, or how do you get their interest, or is it just from word of mouth, they already trust you and they subscribe?
So far, we have not given anything out for free. We probably will. We've actually, I think it's on our to-do list to kind of create a couple of, I mean, it's a really businessy term, but a couple of lead magnets, like a free 3-week plan or something like that. But actually, to date, I mean, what kind of first, I guess, apart from me just kind of like connecting with people on Twitter, we've just been really fortunate to connect with some people who are already very trustworthy, like Wes Boss or Ryan Carson, for instance, people who, we actually did a plan for Wes. He was our, technically, I guess, our first customer, and he's seeing great results. And, he dropped a tweet about us, and that immediately gave us some credibility, and we started getting our first customers from that. And that's also kind of given us some momentum to be able to have other podcast guests and stuff like that. So it kind of starts to compound on each other. And so that's kind of what we've done so far. We have given coupons. So every dev that was hopping on a 15-minute call with me, they all got a coupon to use when we actually launched that was good for $50 off. And we've also given some coupons away on like different podcasts, or I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 different ways that you can, or you could have gotten a coupon from us by now. And also, and that, we also wanted to give you guys your listeners a coupon if anyone wants to sign up. So we'll give you guys a code that you can put in the show notes if you'd like.
Sure.
But we haven't done anything free yet. We probably will, though, just because, it's never a bad thing to be able to capture some email addresses and have a way for people to try us out without having to financially commit.
And you started podcasting, and I just saw that like 3 days ago you had your first episode, but you've been working behind the scenes, I think, on recording a lot of content. So would you like to take us through your process? How did you decide to start with this in the first place?
Yeah, like how did I decide to do a podcast? Yeah. Well, I'm a huge fan of podcasts. I listen to podcasts every day. And it may be my primary means of learning. I guess at least my first, especially in development related things, there's just too many things going on to keep up with everything. And so, I listen to certain podcasts and I might hear of something that piques my interest, and I get a good like general intro to it. And then if it really piques my interest, I'll go dive deeper on that one thing, online or something, or with a book. But, I think it's probably my primary means of like education at the moment. And so I'm a huge proponent of them. And I know that it's also really big just in the developer world. I mean, there's a lot of developer podcasts out there that are great. And so I figure, if I know Wes Boss's and Scott Zielinski's podcast, Syntax, they're getting 20,000 downloads an episode, I think. And so, obviously, like there's a lot of developers out there listening to podcasts. And so I figured, hey, well, I'll give them one more. And instead of being, another podcast about JavaScript or something, we'll talk about how they can improve their lives just on how they can improve their sense of well-being and improve their bodies. And so that was kind of why I wanted to do it. And the idea was just, hey, we'll bring on developers who are already staying healthy and incorporating fitness into their daily lives, and we'll just have them talk about what they do and how they got into it and the benefits. And it's really going to serve as more of just a motivational piece to those who are trying to take that first step in their fitness journey. And so, the goal is to have like developers in the gym while they're listening to the Refactor Your Body podcast. That would be like, the peak of success for us.
It's one of the best ways to spread your message. You mentioned developers a lot, but I think you also mentioned the breakdancer. You have a mix of customers actually, right? It's not just focused specifically for programmers.
It is just programmers. It just so happens that he is also a breakdancer.
Okay.
So it's actually Scott Talinsky, the co-host of Syntax. He's a breakdancer. And he came to us wanting to do a specific type of move. Like that's his goal. There's a specific type of breakdancing move, and so that's what we made our plan around.
Nice.
But do you guys see yourself just sticking to developers? Because I can see a lot of common ground with other people who have sedentary jobs. Working on a chair 8 hours, with probably having the same problems, using the computer as well in the same position. Are you just gonna kind of niche and have focus on the developers, or are you willing to kind of leeway a little bit from that as well?
I've decided that I'm all in on developers, and I'm not gonna proceed with any other niche just because I am a developer and I am in the industry. I understand the people and I can connect with them on a level that's not just as a trainer or something like that. I can connect with them just as people who have common interests. And I think that's also the powerful and that's what makes our community even more powerful than just kind of like a general fitness community. Is you're not just connecting with like other people who are trying to be healthy. You're like, you can also like go talk about the latest JavaScript framework or whatever, like you can go talk shop with people. You can discover new people that are in your city that you can go to the gym with and also talk about work with, so I'm sold out to developers. If anyone else wants to do another niche, we'll gladly try to help you along, and
we'll send anybody else to blackowlfitness.com.
Nice plug. But Thad, by the way, can you, for someone, let's say for some of our listeners, and we probably have a few programmers along as well, someone who is just really sitting at a desk and is tied to this sedentary lifestyle, can you just give a few tips, like for 2-3 minutes or 5 minutes workout that they can do even in the office, just to get the body moving a little bit, to disconnect from this sitting and sedentary position?
Sure. Yeah, totally. We actually hooked Wes Boss up with just a travel workout to be done in a doorway. And it's like an intro to resistance training if you've never had any kind of resistance put onto your muscles before. But yeah, it's basically there's all the standing that you can do, as much as you can stand up and sit down. But also standing in a doorway, you can close your fists and push out to the sides against the door frame with your thumbs facing towards you, and then just rotate your palms. And so have that as your palms facing towards you. Do it again with your palms facing the doorway, and then lift your hands over your head and do it the same way. So you're just kind of giving some resistance to your shoulders and your back. So yeah, do all three hand placements with your hands kind of below your waist, and then with your hands above your head pushing against the doorway. So just a little doorway exercise that you can do in the office or anywhere.
Cool. That's pretty useful.
Is there also some tips you guys give on like office equipment or posture wise, or do you go about fixing those? Because there's a few things that you can also do whilst like sitting or lifting the screen a bit higher.
Right. I don't know if JC has any tips for posture, but we've pretty much come into I don't know. We haven't found a lot of products that we really like for it because, you know, if you're sitting with bad posture and you just change to a standing desk, then you're just going to stand with bad posture. And if you switch out your chair for an exercise ball, then you're just going to sit on your
Yeah.
exercise ball with bad posture. So.
The problem is the posture and being aware of it. I mean, there's furniture and stuff that can certainly doesn't hurt. But even those things are kind of pointless, or at least aren't going to have the greatest effect if you don't first just develop that self-awareness of like, how is my body positioned in space right now? You got to have some self-awareness there that takes a little bit of time to cultivate. I mean, even me, I'm pretty aware of it, but I still find myself slouching in my chair or even slouching when I'm standing up because I'll either get lost in my work and just kind of forget, or the worst one is when we're all standing, but we're looking down at our phone, and anytime the head is tilted down and the neck's tilted down, I mean, our back and our body just kind of like goes with it naturally, and until we decide that, until we realize that we're doing it. And so posture is a huge one. I would love to be able to, on our site, to have kind of a I don't know, trusted product section or something like that, of just links to things that we've at least used or people in our community have used. Certain standing desks. My chair is actually a DX Racer chair, and it has a really nice back support. And so if I have to sit, I prefer to sit in a seat that's going to support me well. But that's something that probably will be really useful on our site someday. But yeah, it's all going to go back to posture either way.
Yeah. Let me jump in real quick. I got to roll out here. So sorry to jump out of here on you guys, but the gyms aren't 24 hours here, which is odd for me. But thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah. We'll see you guys later. Great talking to you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
JC, I was wondering if you have noticed, you mentioned already there are mental and cognitive benefits from working out and from fixing your nutrition and posture and physical status. Can you mention some of those? Have you noticed some of those in your work in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, when I first started working out, I immediately realized, I immediately even got some more confidence just in my management skills and my ability to kind of manage people, because I was I was actually, even though I was their boss, I was still younger than everyone that was working for me, and so like it was easy for me to kind of allow myself to get taken advantage of at times. And then I started developing some confidence in myself. And if it tells you anything, I quickly eliminated a lot of my staff, and not because they were necessarily bad workers, but because I learned how to bring focus to my work and figure out what exactly was working and what wasn't, and mercilessly cut out what just wasn't working from a business standpoint, and now I'm solo because over time I figured out that just in my day-to-day job, I'm a solo, consultant now. And that's because I figured out that, that's what works best for me. And that, from a business sense, that's what made the most sense to me. And because I honestly just didn't enjoy managing people either. But so there was that, but there was also just there used to be this mental fog, like just always there, where it's hard to explain. It's like this, it's just this like feeling of like all my thoughts are sluggish or hard to connect different thoughts together. And as I started working out and eating better, I realized like my mind was just much sharper. Even things like simple things like remembering people's names and stuff like that, things that I used to really like have a hard time with that. Just being able to remember, someone introduces themselves and 20 seconds later I can't remember their name, like and part of that may not be memory. It may just be like being present. But that's another thing, is like, it's really hard to be present when you have low energy and you can't focus very well. And I guess that's a probably better way to put it, is I probably noticed myself being more present, being aware of who's around me, what's going on around me, and being able to engage with my surroundings and my reality, instead of just kind of passively existing in in time and space each day. And then also just with my work, I definitely noticed a sharp uptick in what I could get done in the same amount of time, or even less amount of time than before. And so, yeah, I guess that maybe that answers the question. But and even today, I can kind of see if I let my diet slip for a bit, or I get sick and maybe a little dehydrated, and I don't go to the gym for a week, like, I can see myself immediately start to slip back into those kind of like feelings of kind of fogginess and or grogginess, and also just kind of like general anxiety. I'm a pretty naturally, like, if I don't work out, like, I'm naturally a pretty anxious guy. And so, I immediately see myself slipping away if I let my diet go or something. And so, for me, it's a must. I have to do these things now.
Mm. And can you please take us through, let's say, the next 6 months of what are the plans and goals for the company?
Yeah. So right now we are we're having our official launch on I think the 20th. I'm kind of finishing up some other aspects of our site that I wanted to be live, and we're sponsoring Wes Boss's podcast, the one that goes live on the 22nd. And so that's going to be kind of our official launch. Is we're going to launch the podcast, like our first interview and everything, alongside the site, and actually start advertising a bit more, because everything so far has just been, kind of under the radar. Like, we have some sales. We've had sales for a few months now. We started selling through Twitter before we even had a website. We were just selling through direct messages. But I guess when we really start to ramp up, we'll be reaching out to more people, trying to get, more people on our podcast and things like that. And then we're working on some plans for New Year's, because obviously, New Year's is like the time when everyone starts thinking about their health, for better or worse. Like, and we're thinking about some things that we can do to try to just encourage people to take that, to really commit to that first step, even if it's for a New Year's resolution, like whatever it may be. And like I said, for better or worse, that's the best time to try to attract people's attention, is right before they make their New Year's resolutions. And so we're planning some of that stuff. The membership model is still kind of an idea that we'd like to pursue, but we're just kind of being patient. We're going to wait and see when the right time for that is. And then we are looking into the possibility of having our own private gym here at our our home city, where we can train developers that live here. It'll just be for them, and we're looking into that. And then a couple other things that we've been thinking about is we're looking at doing on-site seminars for companies and for like at conferences, be able to come on and do like a 1 or a 2 day like mobility seminar, show people how to stretch, how to just give them like some practical advice they can immediately apply to their lives. Even do some group workouts, like whatever it may be. We don't even know exactly what it would look like yet, but we're thinking about that. And then we're trying to also plan I don't really know what to call it, I guess a meetup tour for next year, where we just kind of we hit the road and go to various cities that we have community members in, and we visit their local meetups and just kind of talk about fitness and pass out some t-shirts and give some coupons out and stuff like that, and just get to we believe that the more developers we can talk to, and like specifically about their fitness and their experience with it, and what's preventing them, if they're doing it, then like when and how did they get started, and how did they get success, and if they're not doing it, then what's preventing them from it. We believe the more developers we talk to, just the better our company can be, and the more healthy developers we can create.
Fantastic. Well, we want to be respectful of your time, and we're almost an hour now in. Would you like to just mention a few of the links that you have, your handles, so where people can find out more about DevLifts, maybe yourself and that as well?
Sure. So DevLifts on Twitter is at DevLifts, DEVLIFTS, and the site is devlifts.io. And the Dulo listeners can use the coupon code Dulo to get $50 off. And personally, I'm on Twitter at JC Hiatt, JCHIATT. That's probably the best way to connect with me. I'm pretty active on there. And Thad is actually, I don't have his username memorized. Let me
let's make sure it's the correct one.
Yeah, let me look at that. Yeah, Thad's username is let's see. Yeah, Thad the Trainer.
Okay.
That's his Twitter handle, and our podcast is launching, and that's called Refactor Your Body, and so that'll be up. I mean, it's already up, but it'll actually have interviews, weekly interviews, starting next week.
Awesome.
Nice, JC. Thanks a lot for taking the time, and we'll be following. Good luck in the next few months.
Yeah, thanks for having me.